All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our budget work session for Monday, May the 1st. Believe it or not, it is already May. Time is getting by us, but we are here to continue reviewing the budget by departments and preparing for FY 2024. So, Mr. Tonelli, when you're ready, we will turn the meeting over to you. You're muted, by the way. Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay. Give me 1 second to find it. I think it's this one. Aha. Okay. How you doing, Mayor and Council and public and our staff? We are into our third budget work session, as the mayor said. And first budget work session, we got through the revenues, and the second one, we got through the administrative departments, which are the mayor and council, town administrator, town clerk, and finance. As we discussed the other day, those departments only 14% of our total expenditure budget. We run pretty lean here, I like to say. So just have a 14% G&A cost, general administrative cost. Target's always 20% to 25% on the high end. For us to have only 14%, I think this just shows our efficiency. And well, we run thin and get a lot done. So, but now we want to talk about the direct service budgets, which include public safety, public works, and the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. Public safety is our largest department. Always go back to our little pie chart here. You can see public safety is 59% of our total budget because, as I said last week, I'm sorry, Ms. Rao, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I wanted to know, where did we land last administrative meeting? I watched the portion that I missed, but I wanted to know, did we say a consultant or a grant manager or a grant writer? Did we settle on that?
What was ended at the last meeting, Mr. Charnovich was talking about that. I think that was directed to, actually, I just went through this as well, Ms. Rao. I think the mayor directed the staff to come back with a proposal on the grants person.
Okay.
Because that's right where we ended it, like 7:15 at the last meeting last week. So
Yes.
yeah.
But Councilmember Rout, to your question too, the idea was not to add a full-time employee at this time, but to make sure that it's a consultant or a contractor, so that we don't have the overhead of the other expenses that go along with that position at this time.
Okay, I just wanted to bring just a different perspective that may be useful. There are, so because I'm in the federal grant cycle ward, I know there's going to be lots of money that's going to be pushed out to the communities across the nation for the use. And so I just want us to really consider if it's a consultant versus a full-time position, because when we get a grant, we're going to have to manage it too. And this spills into the public safety side of things. So I didn't know if we wanted to have a discussion with regards to public safety too. There's lots of policing grants that's coming out daily. I mean, I send them over to Chief Collington when I see them or when I get a grip of them. But I want us to really, and the staff, when you're looking at a consultant versus a full-time, a consultant versus a contractor, the grant position really can pay for itself if we charge that position to the grant that we are, getting. And speaking with our colleagues over in Upper Marlboro, I was surprised to hear that 40% of their budget is through grants. And they're really, really small. And they have a full-time grant person on staff. And so I just want us to really do our due diligence is looking at the different models to really position ourselves. We have the infrastructure grants that's going to be coming out left and right. Okay. We have flooding issues. There's some redevelopment grants that's out on the street right now that I've sent to Mr. Charnovich. There are public safety grants that are available. That's a lot of grants for a consultant. And so I just really want us to really think, do we really want a consultant? Or if we have an FTE, we can charge that salary and the fringe to the grant. So just saying.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Brown?
Yes, thank you for that as well, Councilman Brown. And then also with I think between the consultant and the FTE, the consultant would be a full-time person. I mean, basically, and you could still charge the grant for that position. It's just that the person would not be getting the benefits, the town benefits. So I mean, it would be that person. I think that the person would be full-time.
And honestly, I think that because we haven't had a consistent contractor or consultant for the last few years, we need to start. And if we come back to the table next year and we all agree we have done so well with this, we do need to shift it to an FTE, then at least we'll have some justification for that and bringing that back to the residents to say, we've had so much success here that we feel we can do even more. But I think you're right. We can budget for a full-time consultant to help us, because you're right, Councilmember Rout. And I was sharing in the last meeting, just briefly, that I had been in conversation with Sergeant Waters, and he was sharing some of the grants that he was seeing and researching out there. And I want to be sensitive to what we can capture to help us on the public safety side as well as the administrative side. But at least for now, if you all would just be open to at least saying, let's get a full-time consultant in here so we start tracking and seeing how well we're doing. And frankly, with the revenue that we're generating on public safety side from the speed cameras, if we even decide this time next year, we want to segment it out. So we have someone just focused on public safety and someone just on admin, or however, at least we'll have some more information to help us make that next decision. But again, thank you both for your comments there. Councilmember Brown or Councilmember McBride, did you want to add anything there?
You mean Blunt? I already added.
I'm sorry.
My 2 cents.
McBride, Brown, and Blunt. It's a tongue twister.
I know,
Say
right?
it 3 times fast. I apologize. Councilmember McBride and Councilmember Blunt. Any comments?
No, I understand what Councilmember Rout is saying. Yeah, because when you're working with grants, you're able to charge that to that grant. So it's not really gonna take from our money. But I'm fine with either way you go. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Let me just scroll, make sure we don't have any more hands up. Okay, Mr. Tonelli, back to you.
Okay, so as we talked about the last budget session, public safety really has, it's the largest department because it has several sub-departments. We have the police officers, the command staff, we have the dispatch, which is communications, and also code enforcement, and the CAT team. They have several sub-departments there, so anyone sees public safety, it's not just, police force, it's everything involved with it, and the administrative support as well. So, and I wanted to, some things have changed since we drew this budget up over a month ago. I mean, this budget now is a month and a half old, and we've had some internal discussions since then. So I want to bring those to light as we come across them. Can everybody see this okay? Blow it up a little bit more, blow it up a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. First of all, there is, and the budget was 28 because we're going to go down to 26. There is through attrition, we might lose a couple of positions by the time the fiscal year starts. I put everything in there. I can back this off now. And what that does, it saves about $230,000 off of this line item right here, for the positions and the accompanying benefits, and also for equipment and everything. I had a couple too many officers. That is, if some things didn't work out with some officers, and we have some out right now. So I'm trying to dance around why, but it's a couple were over budgeted here. So that's a good thing, because the transfer from fund balance will have a resulting effect on it. But we do have to, what we talked about the previous budget meeting, we're going to have a little bit of increases as well from what we talked about before, like increasing the contractual services, what Ms. Rout just mentioned for the like the town administrator budget. We also had some increases for legal for the annexation work, but I'll come back to that. So anyway, now, not all the budget for public safety is in here, because we did shift some over to the American Rescue Plan Act, as we did the previous year. Previous year meant current year. Now, I just kept it consistent. What is in there is the FICA from, the COLAs from last year and the COLAs from this year. I shifted those to ARPA. Now, I don't know if Mayor and Council like that or not, but we had that in there for last year, and I just went ahead and pulled a little bit from that from ARPA for this year. If that doesn't work, we can pull it from somewhere else, but I was just trying to be consistent. So around 18% of the law enforcement officers' salaries are being pulled from ARPA because of the COLAs from last year and the COLAs from this year. Now, again, that could maybe come out of speed camera. We could keep it out of ARPA. One of the things I get worried about ARPA, just a little sidebar, much of my time here. When we first got the American Rescue Plan Act, I was worried about how fast we would spend the funds in case there's a callback feature. Well, was it Congress? The House, the Republican House passed trying to pull all their ARPA funds back, and it failed the Senate vote. So it's out there, what we didn't think would happen, because it was an act of Congress that we were told the ARPA funds are safe. They're already taking their first jab at it. So what is in here is not the entire amount of the expenditures, because I have about $400 and some thousand over to ARPA. So just trying to find some other avenues of revenue, and that's what people have been using the ARPA funds for, and that's what we used them last year. Now, again, this is up to Mayor and Council discussion. So, but let me keep going through here. Health insurance. This is based on enrollment and plans. This will come down about $20-some thousand because I eliminated, I had too many positions up here. So again, that's part of that savings. I said about $237,000 since we drafted this budget and presenting this and talking about it now. I don't want to give you a brand new budget, because that's just a different document that everybody's going off of now. So I'm still going off of the original document. Pension cost, again, that's a contribution to the retirement system. That decreased about $9,000 when those 2 extra positions were taken out. Workers' comp, I kept the same. It's still going to be $250,000. We're still a high risk, just because of the nature of us and where we are located, and just claim status. So, tuition reimbursement. We've kept this steady at $20,000, and so far we spent half of this budget this year. So we kept it high, and this is for what it is for reimbursement for new officers to attend the training academy, they get a certain portion back depending on how long they've been here. And it's also for coursework, in case people want to take advancement courses. Uniforms, okay, let me back up a little bit here. I have a separate column for traffic enforcement, okay? We have the operating expenditures in this column here, okay? That's coming out of operating budget. Traffic enforcement is a dedicated funding stream, you know, from right now we have the speed cameras. And I'm moving like some of the one-time expenditures that we get during the year over to traffic enforcement. So we have an additional source of revenues to pull from, but I kept it on the public safety budget because it's only for public safety purposes, okay? Now, it's still part of the total public safety budget, but I'm pulling it from traffic enforcement. Really, I could pull anything from it, or, you know, the chief can pull anything from it, but I'm just trying to make the budget work here. So, you know, I could pull wireless communications or something, but I'm just trying to pull like some of the rounded large ticket items. And this includes a uniform expense. Now, we have been, we have exceeded the budget this year, but we had a lot of one-time purchases for uniforms and outer carriers. We had quite a few officers come on board, and also for the we supplied an honor guard, which is nice. You know, we have a Bladensburg honor guard now, so and that's a one-time cost, but that is something that will be, you know, used year after year after year. Again, pulling that from the speed cameras. Some of the smaller items I'm going to skip over. Just trying to watch my time here. Recruitment, that is for background investigations, psychological investigations, all for new hires, credit checks, everything else. Kept that constant year to year. Some of these next items, they've all remained constant. I'm just going to touch on them. Professional development. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not constant. We went ahead and increased the budget from $20,000 to $35,000 because we have what's also included in here. I don't have a K9 line item yet, but as we have a couple of our dogs, you know, they start adding, you know, they need specialized service. You know, there's trainings for them. There's also the vet visits, but that's just the dogs. I mean, that's only about $3,000. But what's really turned up is, you know, we have Sergeant Thompson over there who's in charge of the professional development and leadership courses. And he is, and a lot of people are taking advantage of going to these courses. I want to say, I forget the names of all of them. Some are the FBI courses, the negotiation courses. Chief, help me out before I go to council member route. And they're week-long courses, and they're an entire day. So again, it's to get our staff and our officers trained, our employees trained. So, council member route.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tonelli. I would like us to see a K9 line item only because we have 2 dogs, and I think we need to treat those as, you know, they're workers, and so they have different needs as well. And I would like to see us track fiscally as it relates to their services. There are different trainings that their handlers have to take, different equipment that the 2 K9s need. And it's a lot, it's a lot from my understanding for a service dog. And at my employee site, we have a service dog. And I would like to really see a line item for them. Additionally, I didn't see it in the income in. Do we charge for the trainings when we do trainings for the outside agencies? So I don't see that here. Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli, and I will start with the later question. when we do outside, we host the trainings. Most of the time, we do not charge for the trainings. The instructor, the guest instructor that comes over that does the training for us gives us free slots. So that's how we get our people trained. That's the trade-off. Now, when we do, we very rarely do training for outside agencies unless there's like 1 or 2 people want to tag in, like firearms training, and we would take them to the course, and their agency will provide the rounds that we need for them to qualify. We just provide the trainer, and again, they just joining in with us. We already at the range. And then the other one was the K9, and I'm glad you brought that up, Councilmember Rout. Just to, let me lower my hand here. So when we do the K9 training, so part of the requirement is tracking the services that we provide. And we do that through the program called K9 Tracker. So I can see how many deployments that our dogs been on. I can see how many assists that they've done for outside agencies. We can see the vet bills. We can see the in-service training that they do at it's just a point and click, and we can pull all of that data down and provide that data, because that is part of the training through the National Canine Association. We must have a record of the training that they do. Yeah, I hope that answers the question there.
And Councilmember Rout, I struggled with that as hell. I mean, as well. And it's, I guess I look at the dogs like.
Did you just say, as you struggle with that as hell?
You're breaking
I was gonna let it go. I was just gonna let it go. Thank you, Councilmember Brown.
Leave it that little laugh. I couldn't. Okay.
I looked over at someone and his face didn't change, so I thought I got away with it, but okay. But
It just flew over my head. So.
Okay. Councilman Brown almost got away with it. But anyway, I see I guess I see the dogs as a member of the police force, you know, and that's why I didn't separate them out, because it's still, you know, professional development, it's still training, just like the officers do, still supplies and everything. So that's why I didn't separate it out. I was going to, but, and again, this is our first year having them full time. So I guess I want to see, I'd like to see a full year into it, then maybe, you know, maybe the following year. But I can go ahead and do separate, but you know, it's up to the mayor and council. It's no big deal.
I think it makes sense the way Chief outlined it. The fact that he is tracking that stat or all those stats through the National Canine Association and can provide that report back to the council. So perhaps if everyone's okay with leaving it as is for now, but this is something that next budget cycle, if we see a lot of activity and that there is a need for a separate line item, I would totally support that. And then Mr. Tonelli, I did want to just go back up with a few questions. With respect to the workers' comp, is this reasonable to have the 250K there? I'm just wondering, given the climate that our officers are policing in, it is a little bit more aggressive and there are more incidents. I'm thinking of the one where a vehicle tried to ram, you know, some of the officers. These things are not as few and far between as they used to be. It seems like they tend to happen more frequently. And so again, I'm just wondering, is that sufficient given the increase in these kinds of incidents with the officers?
I hope so. I just got an email last week from our workers' comp carrier, and they want our payroll figures projected for next year. And I said, well, before I give that, what's it looking like? They said, we're still gathering the information. I said, I need to know, you know, is it similar? Is it going to increase? And the thing is, with workers' comp, it's like they look at like a 5-year loss run. And some things that are current, what you talked about, Mayor, will be on our loss run for the next 3 to 4 years. So our rates are going to stay up. The only thing we can hope for is, you know, it's tough to say. From what you're talking about, no, the danger is not going to go away, obviously. And it's, And they actually just went to I heard last month they went to a national carrier who's going to be the underwriter, which they promised is going to be at a lower rates. But again, we haven't seen anything yet. So, and that's a big move for Chesapeake employers. So,
Understood, but
and
thank you.
yeah, and Chesapeake
Yeah.
employers, unfortunately, I think I talked about this last time. They're really about the only game in town for us. They're almost like, I want to say, what the MAIF is for automobile insurance. Just because of the nature of our, we have and I've shopped this before, and I got promises that we'll insure you, then they find out, oh, you have that large of a police force, you're inside the Beltway, let me see your loss runs, and then they just say, no, you gotta stay with Chesapeake employers. So, but
Understood.
that is for most larger agencies. Like smaller agencies, like you'll talk to, like the smaller towns you'll talk to that have like maybe 4 officers or 6 officers, they can get it because the risk is reduced by that much. So they can go out and get it. But for a force our size, and just what they face every day, so it's
Yeah, when you look at the proportion of officers to the population, I totally
Yeah.
understand. One other question I had was with respect to the uniforms. So Chief, I know there's specific training that goes along with it. I'm just going to use this as an example in the event of riots. So when January 6th happened, the uprising a few years ago, I know our department and other local municipalities supported that effort with officers. But is there, from your side, a desire to start moving in the direction where we're getting that equipment, getting the training on the riot gear? Because as you explained to me, you don't just put someone behind those shields and things. There's special trainings that go along with it. And not that I foresee anything here, but if called upon, just want to make sure that we're trained and equipped to be able to lend a hand, whether it's to the state or, another neighboring agency.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I agree with you. It is beneficial and advantageous for us to be prepared for the worst scenario at all times. In light of everything that's going on around the country, it behooves us to be prepared to deal with the unexpected. So with that being said, you're right. With the riots, we call civil disturbance training, you need to have that because you never know what situation you're going to be in. And again, to keep officers from getting hurt, they need to be trained. So I would, I'm glad that you would supporting the fact that officers maintain that level of training to be able to deal with situations and protect the community. So yeah, I would like to see us continue to move forward with it. And I would just say myself, I went through the frontline civil disturbance training. It was very beneficial, and we got called upon when the Freddie Gray incident occurred in Baltimore. So, we have to, in law enforcement agencies, help one another, because our department certainly couldn't do it alone.
Thank you for that, Chief. Yeah, definitely. And if you could provide some numbers for our next budget meeting so the council can take a look at that and just, make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of supporting it. And then also understanding with the traffic enforcement dollars, the state does mandate that you have to keep that below a certain threshold. So definitely wanting to help you spend down some of those resources. Over to you, Mr. Tonelli.
Okay. Employee recommendation. This is for the accommodations and recognitions for the public safety staff. Community events, I did keep this the same. Now we increased this on the mayor and council side from 40,000 to 65,000. Now, public safety has their own events, their own budget that are just strictly public safety related. And theirs don't cost as much because they do them, well, they're all local, but the main one is a national night out, shop with the cop, movie in the park, Citizens Police Academy, if we start that up again, safe streets, walking with the chief, and the extravaganza. Now, the Rose Awards were a new thing this year. I don't know if that's going to be an annual thing or is that something we keep in the budget? I'm not sure. So,
The goal was to keep it. It went so well this year in
okay.
talking with Mr. Jeffries and Ms.
Mhm.
Montfort. And Chief, if you agree, because I know Ms. Montfort spent a lot of time working on that.
1 second. Let me just catch up here real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. Telephone, that's just the landlines run through communications. It's actually our phone system now. And it's the monthly cost and service of the phone system. Plus we still do have landlines. Landlines are still the backbone as a backup. Wireless communications, these are for the MDTs or the mobile data terminals on all the police cruisers, that little hockey puck I believe you see on the back. Is that right, Sean? Is that the MDT on the back, the MDT antenna or something? I don't know. But that talks to their laptops. And it's also for our hotspots and we do have a few wireless phones issued. Now, we talked last meeting about issuing town phones, and we do have a meeting set up for this week with a vendor talking about that because the mayor and council directed the staff to look at that and Chief set that up.
Mr. Tonelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Blunt has her hand up.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Blunt, just like last week, I can't see it with that because it blends into the background of the cabinet back there.
A quick question. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
chief probably can answer, or you. Shot with a cop. I know that they get a check, a large amount of check for the kids to shop with the cop. And I see that's in the budget. So do we usually spend down all the donation funds? That's why it's still in the budget, or we add to it?
On the shop for the cop revenues, I believe the guidance is at 3,500 or 7,000, Chief. I always get confused with those. It's one of those two amounts. No, it's 4,500.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we treat that as like a restricted grant. Any money that comes in for shop for the cop is kept as a restricted grant, so that money is spent back out again. And this covers if if we want to buy additional gifts or something over and beyond that. But that's all part of the community events. Because also a shop with a cop, we do lunch, I believe. We did lunch locally at Three Brothers, and it pays for that as well.
That's why I was wondering, do we ever exceed that grant amount prior to adding to that with inside of this?
I would say that the grant amount pays for all the gifts, and what you see in the community events would be for the lunch and refreshments and everything.
And there's data for all of that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because again, we really don't have a donation line item. So any donations that come in, we get like 3 to 4 donations a year. Well, actually, with the CAT team now, I think we're starting to increase the donations. We just treat each donation as a restricted grant,
Okay.
and it's classed separately. It's got its own income and its own expense. There's money left over goes into that little grant fund balance there. So any unused money carries over, or gift cards or anything that if the kids didn't show up or something. So.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tonelli, Councilmember Brown has her hand
Oh,
up
yes, it
as
does.
well.
Hey, okay.
I'm sorry, it was so long. The phones. So who are we looking at? Just you had a vendor. Who are we looking at? Do you know? Do we know?
Yeah, it's our current vendor on a government contract. That's how we get the decreased pricing through T-Mobile.
Oh my God, T-Mobile.
I know.
Excuse me.
I also have a Verizon card here somewhere with my government contract contact. So yeah.
I mean, can we have options, or are we just we have to go with that?
Well, council member, last week, the staff was sharing with us that you can have the option of Droid or Apple. So we had a nice little debate about that, remember? In fact, I think Mr. Jeffries posted about that on social media, but you would at least get the option. So you can stay true to your Samsung world. Is that what it is? Samsung?
Yes, well, yes.
I'm in that world too, so I'm good.
Okay, but the service provider still would have to be, T-Mobile.
Doesn't have to be, but again, we're gonna meet with them this week and just see what they have to say. See what
Okay.
the options are from them.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying, I don't know, compare some
Yeah.
carrier rates.
Yeah, because I know, I think you need a new phone in a couple months anyway, so, so it's, and we're trying to get we'd like to just refresh everybody. We reimburse employees for the use of their mobile phones, and unfortunately, our phones have all of our work on there. It's got our phone system app on there. It's got our chat feature on there. It's got our email on there. We text each other back and forth. I mean, I had the whole budget downloaded. We do just as much through our phones as, and unfortunately they're foilable. So if anything, any part of any investigation, we'll have to give up our personal phone. So, which I'm not a fan of that. So I'd rather have a separate work phone and separate personal phone, so the two don't mix. And that's what I like to see everybody else have here as well. So, so like Chief goes home in the evening, doesn't have to take, work calls all night long, is trying to sleep, unfortunately, but I'm sure he does. So it's, okay, communications contracts. I'm gonna keep going. Mayor, just keep calling out questions, because I'm looking over here in this screen and I'm watching this screen at the same time. So
Okay, gotcha.
just go ahead and cut me off. I'm good.
Okay.
Communications contracts is our annual license with Motorola for the operation, and help me out, for the annual license for the communications equipment. We see on the tower out there, it goes through through all the radios, code, dispatch, and the officers have. Is that correct, Sean? Thumbs up. Yep, good. Okay. Interoperability. This is a small account. It's just I just reclassed this as software contracts. And what this really was just a separate line item for our email cost. Now our email cost was through Rackspace. Now it's through Microsoft 365. We still pay a monthly fee based on usage, but I put this down under software contracts, and we had to increase this as well for additional records management software. But I'll get to that one in a minute. Internet access just increased slightly for broadband access for the town hall and also for the COPS office. Assume they can get back in the COPS office soon as it's done being fixed. Data fees. This is for, again, this almost could be a software subscription, but it's for our monthly cost to have subscription for our logon IDs through, oh my gosh, I can't think of it. Is it CGIS, Chief? And what's the one for the university? Yes, thank you. And this remains constant every year, which I'm surprised about. It's the only thing that has kind of remained constant. IT support. Now, when we drew the budget up like 45 days ago, that was all good until we got a new quote from our IT provider. They haven't increased their rates to us for a few years now. I think for at least 3 or 4 years. What did I tell you, Rich? I look back at it. And we have a lot more on their plate right now since a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. We have more software packages, the MDTs and all the vehicles, the phone system, a new server, Microsoft 365 server now that we brought in-house versus having through Rackspace. So we have a lot more now. So this has to be increased by $14,000 to $46,000. Let me just double check that number real quick. I'm sorry, 10,000. So it's going to go from 10,000, from $32,000 to $42,000. So this is one of the changes we need to make is for the IT support here.
Okay, I was about to say, yeah, okay, so it's a $10,000 difference. Increase, okay.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they do a lot for that money. And it's not, and they're here on site 1 day a week, but on call and working remote the 6 other days a week. Good example is if dispatch goes down middle of the night, they're here working on it to get us back up and running again. Services like that. So and again, we're growing, we're adding more and more tech. So I saw that, you know, it's completely understandable. Now this gets down to why I saw.
Councilmember Brown, did you have another
Oh, I'm
question?
sorry.
Yeah, I do. So do we have anything to compare that to with the services? Are we paying them monthly for maintenance, support? How are we getting to that number?
Yes, it's called a managed service contract. So we are paying monthly for them to take care of all of our equipment and IT needs. So they're pretty much on call for 24 hours, and that covers everything. Even like this, even if we get like new computers, even a new server, it includes all the programming and turning over of everything and loading all the software. New employees come in, they create the new accounts for them and get them logged into everything. And
Yeah,
they take, yeah.
So, but that breaks down to we're paying them over $1,000 a month.
More than that. This one,
I mean,
yeah, this one's going to be about $3,500 a month, about $3,500 a month.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, is that comparable, you know, to you know, the size of our municipality with other municipalities with comparable services? That's all. But
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. I think it is a good question. I will say the few times I have been there and seen them, they are moving between the PD and admin side with the amount of work. You never see them sitting idle, but I really don't think it hurts to just, like you said, get proposals from others to see, you know, for the same services. Are we comparable? Is this coming in higher? Because maybe we can negotiate a little bit if it is on the higher side. It seems reasonable, but you're right. Let's just check into it.
And I said it because I've seen probably within the government space I'm in as well, and providing some managed services. I mean, it's like a larger workforce and with something comparable, but the maintenance is a little less expensive. So not trying to put extra work on the table or anything like that, but and who knows, I mean, maybe we could get something like from MML. They may already have something comparing the municipalities, but that's, yeah, I would just be curious. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. B.
And one of the wrinkles that we have here is iNet. And they're very experienced with iNet, which is the fiber back, which is I believe it's the dark fiber that feeds the municipalities and everything. And they really know that. And I guess they know the language to work out issues if it's an iNet issue or it's an IP issue. And that's one specialty that, you know, that took a little bit for them, you know, that they have. So I'm not saying that, you know, we shouldn't look. I'm just saying that, you know, that's a wrinkle that we have here. So it's
Well, they're not the only ones on earth, though. But
yeah, I agree. I agree. Chief, you go with that?
Yes, I'm good with
Okay.
that.
All right.
Yep.
I'm talking over Chief's budget here, but you know, I see it every day, and Chief sees it every day. So I'm just, you know, a software contract again. That's one of those things we had to increase because we have more, a lot more going on now. We installed records management software last year. We have the license plate reader program, which is about $4,000 a year. the sonic wall, which is the the sonic wall, which is the firewall, annual licensing, the Trend Micro, which is the security software, and Barracuda backup software. We also have a couple other software packages as ran out of room on here. So we have a lot to track on here. Also the training software. And all these are annual licenses. And also, I'm sorry, the Microsoft 365 program, which is around I think it's around $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000 per year. That's based on usage, and we are billed monthly. That's all a mouthful. Sorry. Auto insurance kept constant. I may want to increase this by $5,000. I got to look at the legit renewal and see if I need to. The police legal liability, that's already high. They said it may increase more, but they're with credits and everything, I'm hoping to keep this at the same level. We also have some new information on this. So since we drew the budget up, and we might have to increase this. The thing is, it's just like the workers' comp. If we have any current claims, they will not be reflective in next year's renewal rate, because they have to be finalized, which probably will be finalized next year, which in 2 years will affect our rate, if that makes sense. So anything that we have in the pipeline right now that doesn't get finalized between now and June 30th, is actually between now and June 1st, is not going to affect our rate. So looking for any questions. Okay. Some of the smaller ones, equipment lease, that's for the monthly, that's for the copiers over in the PD and the annex, and also for the postage machine, kept at the same level. Contractual services, these are for, it's not like a catch-all, but it's kind of like for our storage rentals, LexisNexis, for Dr. Lieb is up in recruitment. For anything that we have to contract out with the police department. Now, this doesn't include like building maintenance or anything, because that would come under the public works budget. This is just strictly for a line item for the police department. Automated traffic enforcement. I gotta see what how these are going to run when they start billing monthly for the cameras. And what happens is, we get revenues and then there's expenses against it. The expenses against it are going to be for the monthly charges for the for each camera. Ms. Rao?
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. I see traffic enforcement is here, but I also remember Chief Collington really telling us about the ticketing system for the parking tickets. So did we, where is that reflected here? I know it's not under traffic. But I do recall Chief and Code Enforcement talking about they needed a new carrier or a new person to generate a new company to follow those traffic those parking citations. So I'm just curious to see where that is in the presented budget.
Was that because they're not tagged to the state, Chief?
Yeah, that's correct. We did not have any way of basically holding them accountable if they didn't pay the tickets. So we still, Sean and I are still working on getting the vendor for that. In fact, we just had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, getting some devices for our parking enforcement people, since they are out there now actively increasing their parking enforcement. I see Councilmember Blunt shaking her head. I think they went up through Emerson Street and tagged just about every other car up there. So they are being more vigilant, but we will have to get those devices. And again, Sean and I just had this conversation last week. So that's still, we're still working on it.
I'm bringing up this issue now because, residents in Ward 1 are truly impacted by the parking, issue. And I know we haven't had a parking study because we didn't have staff really to research and really find that way, even though we put it in the budget. But something has to be done. We can't just continue to say we're working on it, because the residents are contacting myself and Councilmember Brown about the parking issues in Ward 1. And so I mean, I know we are doing, we're enforcing, I've seen them over here as well. But I wonder to really look at the code enforcement, would they benefit from a parking enforcer as a, I know we talked last year and we were looking at the assistants, and then we were going to see, should that be a full-time position? But then there was a pushback a little bit, as I recall from my memory, that they needed the software. So we have, I believe it was individuals who graduated from the Explorer program, and we wanted to create a pathway for them to start working in the public safety department. So where are we with that? Because seriously, there are cars that are parked in the yellow, and it's yellow. And I know you're not supposed to park there. And it's happening, after hours. It's happening at 10, it's 11, 12. And so if it's a staff thing, okay, that's fine. Is there room in the budget for a staff member? Because that's what we said last year, we were gonna follow back up this year. Or is it a software thing? I would like to see some software in this budget.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. Councilmember Blunt.
This is for the chief. Are we getting any more cameras?
Yes, we are. We are, our next project is working on red light cameras.
Okay.
So we have already started talks with that. The vendor is generating the contract, the draft contract. And then once I have that, then I'll present that to the council as well. So
Okay.
we are looking forward to getting red light cameras as well.
And thank you for the tickets, because it is making a difference to turn that
Thank you.
corner. Okay.
Thank you. And to Councilmember Rout's point, I definitely agree. If we had a designated, most jurisdictions have them, a parking enforcement officer, whether we have a part-time or full-time, that, like our code enforcement addresses a whole lot of other issues. But if we had a parking enforcement officer, part-time or full-time, would be greatly beneficial.
Chief, to that point, would you feel comfortable putting in your budget for 1 to 2 full-time contractors just to see how it goes, or even if it's just one to start a full, not a FTE, but a contractor who's giving us 30 to 40 hours a week and supplementing your current code enforcement staff so they are here at night when we see a lot of those violations, particularly on the weekend? Because I'm thinking about how now that the weather's starting to change, people are entertaining more or going out and socializing more. And so that's in and of itself bringing in more of the situations that cause these violations, in terms of parking where they shouldn't be parked, blocking driveways of residents. I mean, just all the things that we get contacted regarding.
Yes, ma'am. I think that would be a great idea and a great initiative to get started with. And I'll just give a quick example. Parking enforcement, where I came from, we're right at least $170,000 a year in parking citations, and we had a part-time person that obviously did half of that. So we had one full-time and one part-time, and that's all they focus on were parking issues. And I think that would greatly benefit the town to have, you know, 1 or 2 on staff.
That's great. And then Chief, the other thing, and I know Councilmember Rout touched on this, but we did agree to start our cadet program last year and just wanted to see where we are with that. It's fine if we haven't gotten it off the ground yet, but I don't want to lose sight of investing in our youth and giving them a true opportunity to transition into public safety. So can you give us an update there and let us know, you know, where we might need to consider funding for that line item?
Well, we're still working on that, Mayor. We will get that up and going. So we do have the draft for the advertisement. We will put it out. Sergeant Thompson just finalized. He came over today to bring over the draft for the general order. So we need to have a general order for that as well, policy and procedure. So the advertisement is ready, and I will launch that, if not this week, first next week. We will have it launched out there.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I know the department is going to be super excited to get that off the ground.
And I did have a conversation at the Rose Award with a couple of the explorers to see who was still interested in joining the cadet program. And we do have, you know, some great candidates for that.
Yeah, some bright shining stars.
Mayor Jane.
Yes, Councilmember Rout.
So just for clarity for the public's information, so we put it in the budget for the cadets, and they will be touching on a little bit of everything that sworn officers cannot do. So is that correct? I mean, am I recalling that correctly?
So you want me to answer that, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so the cadets, they will be performing duties that non-sworn people can perform, such as like traffic control, parking enforcement, helping out at special events and things like that. So that's what they would primarily be used for. And we did, the council did pass the budget for 2 part-time cadets.
Thank you, Chief. And I do recall from the discussion, we wanted to support them getting a well-rounded experience. And so that's why last budget cycle, we did consider, do we just assign them to parking enforcement? Because that's where the need is, but it just makes more sense if their goal is longer-term law enforcement career, giving them a broader opportunity that better addresses some of the things that they'll face if they advance to the police academy. So it's good to hear, Chief, and thank you for that update that things are moving forward. Mr. Tonelli, back to you.
Okay, we left off at fuel. Well, I was getting ready to start on fuel, I'm sorry. We had budget 75,000. We're slated to spend almost 100,000 this year, so I want to keep that budget at 100,000 for FY24. I was waiting for the fuel prices to come back down, and from what I'm hearing, they're not going to come back down. Just like inflation, they're here and they're going to stay for the next foreseeable future. That's everything I've been hearing on the financial, on the business side.
Mr. Tonelli, just a quick question. So we've got the electric charging bikes, and then we have what, 1 or 2 hybrid vehicles coming. So that won't shift this number down, you don't think?
No, I'm just going to find out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was going to try and flip that answer up, but no, I can't.
All right.
Yeah. So, and we just got the fuel bill for April today. I'm just shaking my head at it, you know. So it's just kind of like sets us, you know. So it's. I hope it goes down. I really do. Unfortunately, with the summertime, with travel, the demand goes up, and now the winter time with the fuel oil prices in the Northeast and everything are driving demand up and everything. So that's what's causing all this. And OPEC has cut production, and the war in Ukraine, everything else, Russia's offline. So always fun things. So. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, I kept this the same, and actually we are staying within this right now because we are keeping the, right now we're at 32,000 for the year, and we have 2 more months to go. So confident that this is going to be a good number here, especially as we keep upgrading our fleet. Body repairs, this is one I had to increase. I had to double this one from $15,000 to $30,000. Again, we have more vehicles on the road and we're seeing more incidents. Now, what happens here is, yes, okay, we have to pay for the repairs up front, and then we realize, and then we get reimbursed by legit, which we realize in the revenues, plus $500 deductible. So if this goes up, we'll get reimbursed on the other side through revenues, less the $500 deductible. It's just the way that they do, you know, it's that legit doesn't pay the claims directly. You know, they reimburse us and don't deal with the auto shops directly because they are not a, you know, like a major insurer that has contracts through all these. They're only in the state of Maryland. Equipment maintenance is a small line item, small increase here. This for the radar certifications and the traffic counters, but also for the recertification of the speed cameras as well. That's why there's a small increase here. Weapons, repairs, and supplies, we kept this current. We bumped this up a year or two ago, and it looks like it's staying within budget right now. And this is for the range days for the ammo and also for firearm purchases as we need them and upgrades. Some of these smaller items I'm just going to go through. Membership and travel remain constant. That's membership in professional organizations, and travel is for the up here, it has to do with the professional development for any conferences and classes. It's for lodging and per diem. Office supplies, self-explanatory, no change. Postage, self-explanatory. Supplies, not self-explanatory. Why to go from 4,000 to 20,000? Well, we had a lot of purchases, and it's taken a lot more to outfit the officers. And also, as I said, we have some increased canine expenses. We have investigation kits. We're starting to purchase help me out with this, Sean, Halligan bars, which are is that how you say them?
Yes, Halligan bars, especially after, and Chief can probably follow up on this, incidents in like Uvalde and the schools like that where the officers didn't have keys to get in rooms. The Halligan bars will assist with breaching doors if necessary. Some first aid kits for the K9 and several items like that. And I'll refer to the Chief for the rest.
Yes, that's correct, Sean, what you just said. And a lot of it went towards the, what was the last equipment we just got? Oh, for the ammo and for the guns that we just got, the new handguns we got. We changed over the old handguns.
Yeah, I left that part out up there, and weapons repairs and supplies. Also, there's, you know, for the new guns, there's sights and holsters and everything else that has to go on them. But the supplies, this had to be increased just because of the amount of activity that we have. We also have bleeding control and trauma kits that were purchased. I think they're about $3,000 to $4,000, and those are just for the officers. I think just for the vehicles. I'm looking down here as well, but yeah. So,
Mr. Tonelli, when you finish, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So Chief and Mr. Tonelli, maybe this isn't the proper line item for this, but in other communities, I see the safety lights that flash red and blue that can be moved throughout the community for just additional public safety. It helps because it kind of wards off people, because from a distance, it really looks like there's a police officer sitting there. I've seen them at the Walmart parking lot after dark. Do you think that it would make sense for us to purchase some of these lighting structures or towers that we could move throughout the community to assist with public safety as a deterrent? And maybe it's not a supplies line item, but it could fit somewhere else, but just wanted to get your thoughts there.
Well, we just ordered 3 surveillance cameras that have the red and blue lights on them. So we had to send the SIM cards back to the vendor so that they can program them with the cameras. So those do have the red and blue lights, and they can move around throughout the community. We just purchased 3 of them.
Can we get 3 more, or how expensive are they? I'm
They
just
weren't that
thinking,
They
we
weren't that
have a lot
expensive.
of places, and I'm seeing my colleagues shaking their heads where those things could really make a difference, especially where it's dark in the community with the vehicle break-ins. Just, I think they would get a lot of miles. But again, if you could let us know the cost, and then maybe the council can come back and recommend we increase from 3 to 6.
Yeah, I think we got all 3 of those cameras for about 20,000.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so we have those, and we bought them individually.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we just had to send the SIMS card out to the vendor so that they can program it, the camera, and as well as the SIM card to the camera. And
So
then
if
we
we
should be
had
getting,
3 in Ward 1 and 3 in Ward 2,
uh-huh.
Councilmember Rao, could you see 3 being
Oh my goodness.
leveraged?
Yeah, no, seriously, like the crime all over is ridiculous. Like it is so we have to, I agree with you, Mayor James. We have to equip ourselves with the tools that we need. And if we need the tools, I'd rather spend it on the front end because it's saving, headache to our residents. I mean, the windows being busted. I mean, every time I turn around, somebody's telling me, oh, my window got busted. And I'm like, okay, well, it was dark over there. So we need cameras, we need lighting. I mean, we need it all. So yes, I agree.
Thank
Let's
you
just
for
do
that.
it.
Thank you. And I do want to say too, Chief, one of the things, I was at the event Friday night with the officers and the teens, and talking to Corporal Harris about the challenge when those kinds of crimes occur and you don't have eyewitnesses. It is difficult for the officers if they are called to court, because the judges, he was saying, a lot of times now they want video evidence. And so this is an opportunity to strengthen, the case if officers do have to go to court for some of these incidents or other related incidents, where now we've got video. It's not just eyewitness testimony, which can falter. The more time passes, maybe I thought it was a red card, then it was pink by the time I went to court. At least with the video, you can't argue with that information. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind adding 3 more, please.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll tell you, so we've been having discussions with another vendor of different type of camera system. So just what you just described, if we're looking for a gray car that went through at certain time, this vendor camera system will be able, we can just put, we're looking for a gray car with partial tag 1, 2, 3. If it went through those cameras, and we plan on putting those through the near the main thoroughfares, so those cameras would capture that car and that license plate. And we would have that as another resource. So we got those other 3 cameras, and we're looking at getting these 3 additional cameras, but these will function a little differently. And these will be in our high risk areas. So you know how we always get the shots going off and the car speed out. We can go to the camera system, put in a witness says a red car. We can just type in the red car with a partial tag 1, 2, 3, and it's going to tell us every red car that went through there with a partial tag 1, 2, 3. So those will be the additional eyes for us in these high risk areas along the thoroughfares. A lot of jurisdictions are getting them, but we want to probably be the first in this area to get them.
Great, that's great.
They
Thank
will
you,
help
Chief.
out.
Okay, I think you have more questions. Councilmember Rout, and then I'll
Yeah.
go to Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, so given I'm back on the parking, what came to me is that we can't just have the parking person. The parking person would need equipment, training, things of that nature. So I really would like for Chief to sit down with Mr. Tonelli to provide to him like really what we need, because I know training is a huge thing. So that they can know how to use the program, understand our parking rules and our code related to parking. And they may need a uniform, so the uniform may go up a little bit. They may need, they could use some of the vehicles that we have here, but they're gonna need transportation. I hope they're not gonna be walking the town back and forth. You know, so Chief, can you please present, you know, all these parking needs? Cause you have the most expertise given your last, you know, your previous employer and the 1.5 FTE that was over there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Oh, thank you. I think I need some ginkgo or something. So,
Did you forget your question?
so Chief.
You were so enamored
I
by
know,
the
I'm like,
cameras
like,
and all the
in and out,
capabilities.
in and out. It's like, so Chief, I'm going back to the traffic enforcement. So is it similar, or the cameras, is it similar to the camera that's up there on 202 Landover Road across the street from the Walgreens? And I'm going through the light turned yellow, so I had to go through it because, but then they sent me the thing of the motion and everything of my car going through it, and they did it, and it's, you know, I'm like, so it's capturing like that the equipment that you were talking about.
So now you're talking about the red light camera at 202 in Kilmer?
Yeah, right across the street from the Walgreens.
Yeah, so that's a different type of camera.
Okay.
That's the red light cameras, but in that same shopping center across, they do have a surveillance trailer
Yes, they do.
with the red
Okay.
and blue lights in that shopping center.
Okay, and it's really surveilling.
Yes, that's just surveillance.
But I'm saying it's
yeah.
really capturing video.
Yes, yeah,
I
it
mean,
really
yeah.
works.
I mean, they
Yeah.
really capture video, not a decoy. Okay. And what about 450 up there by Bladensburg Elementary School? You know, is anything that can be put on that road?
That is one of the areas that Corporal Harris identified. He identified 5 hot areas where these cameras that I just described will go up on the pole, which our main thoroughfares.
Well, I'm talking about speed cameras.
Oh,
surveil and speed.
we could put them up there, but we do have a speed camera on 450 now.
On 450 over on Ward 2 side, over that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about over there by the Checkers, over there by Bladensburg Elementary School.
Yes, so that would be one. That is definitely one of the areas we're looking at putting that camera up there.
Not the surveillance camera, the speed camera.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, from what I understand, and Chief, tell me if I'm wrong, again, talking from our super traffic officer, he was saying it's a matter of really seeing where the camera can go, because some parts of not necessarily the sidewalk, but the space between the sidewalk and the roadway is very narrow. So having the sufficient base for that device is not as clear cut as it is on like 57th Avenue as an example, or Kenilworth, but he did say you guys are working on identifying a good spot over there.
Yes. So I was just getting ready to bring that up, man, is the pads. So they have to put the concrete pads down. So the vendor has a person that come out and survey the area to make sure that we can put that concrete pad down. So right now we have 10 concrete pads around Bladensburg as we speak. Those came with the contract. Any additional, we may have to pay for those concrete pads. But so that's where we are with that. But we do have the cameras there on 450, and I wouldn't want to put a speed camera and a red light camera in the same corner, but put a surveillance camera there would be more beneficial because we're capturing both of them. If they're speeding and setting off the camera, we got them, and as well as if there's a crime that occurred, we got them on video.
But if they're speeding, does the camera issue a ticket?
The speed cameras? Yes.
No, the camera that you say you don't want to put both of them there.
Mhm.
But you said and from understanding, you said look at more, think it's more beneficial to put the surveillance camera on 450 on that road where the Bladensburg Elementary School is. And you said it's capturing both. I said, but it will issue a ticket for people who are speeding.
So no, it will not issue a camera. Now we can't just put the speed cameras, as the mayor described, we can't just put the speed cameras anywhere that we want to, if the concrete pad isn't conducive to that space that we have off the sidewalk. Does that make sense? So the only other way we could do that is to put pole cameras up there. And once you
Yeah,
put
the
a pole
pole
camera up,
cameras, right?
once you put a pole camera up, then you obviously it's stationary. It's going to be there.
Yeah, well, that's
So-
a place that should be stationary because people speeding along.
Yeah,
there.
but
And it's
Councilmember
right there.
Brown, to
But
your
and it's right
point,
there by the school too.
so Councilmember Brown, to your point though, with the speed camera, so it will capture the image, the printed image that will go out on the ticket that's mailed to the violator. But at least with the surveillance, it's actually capturing video. So that is the
Yeah.
difference. I know you were saying, well, why would you not put both of them there so close together? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, that's where you were going with this, with the surveillance. You're getting more because you're getting the video. You can get the stills from that video, but you can't go the other way from still photos from a traffic camera.
Right. Excuse me, Mayor. Thank you for that. But if you get the pole camera, like they have down there on 202, you're getting the video. I mean, it's a pole camera. You're getting the video, and they're even able to go online and view the traffic violation.
And so it is what do you call it? A surveillance on the pole?
It's a video camera. It takes a picture. It video records the traffic violation. And yeah, it takes a picture and it records it. And so,
Gotcha.
but I'm saying if you have and that is an elementary school and a lot of traffic there, just so to slow traffic down, and people who are violators, traffic violators, the only way to slow them down mostly is to issue them a ticket. But but we still need the surveillance one that's capturing that activity as well. But I don't think it's an overkill. I think would be good because you do have the people who are violating in that school zone, and it has video and everything, but it issues tickets.
So,
Thank
so
you.
just to be clear, Councilmember Brown, so that trailer that's in that parking lot does not issue citations. That is just strictly a surveillance camera.
Exactly. That one's
So
surveillance.
across
The
the
one across the street.
Across the street is the red light camera, and it's only going to trigger if you.
I mean, I
cross
wasn't
that
running
red
through a red light, but I couldn't stop in the middle. I couldn't stop in the middle of the intersection.
Oh no, we understand. We understand.
All right, well, I want to get to Councilmember Route, and then it's 6:48 and we still have to get to Public Works. Go ahead, Councilmember Route.
No, but Councilmember Brown, you bring up a really good point, and thank you for giving me some little vitamins for my brain, because piggybacking off what you were saying, I do think that we need more of these ticket cameras that will catch the speed in all of these areas, because if we have one up 450, I think we only have like 2 or 4 or something in the town. We have a small number. So are we looking to expand the program because we know it works? And so should we expand our contract and purchase more cameras so that if we have 10 pads, maybe we can have six cameras so that we can be able to put them in on where, because if it's up 450 and then they slow down, because I see it. They slow down and then they speed back up after they pass through the ticket. If we could get them again down at the bottom, but is it a resource issue, or is it we don't have enough cameras, or we don't have enough bases, or which one is it?
So we when we negotiated this contract, we initially came before the council and we got 3 cameras. So these cameras are $3,400 a month to lease. So we leased 3 of them right now. So we haven't gone through a whole year on this contract. Like we just got this up maybe about 5 months ago now. So I'll be happy to come back to the council again and say, can we get 3 more cameras? Because right now we're paying about a good $11,000 a month for the cameras, but it's compares to pennies of the revenue that we're actually taking in. So, but again, we are on a contract, And we can do a rider on an addendum to the contract to get 3 more cameras. But remember, we wanted to see how well they performed when we first negotiated this contract. And we see they're doing quite well out there. So I'll be happy to get 3 more.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Rao. And yes, Chief, if you could just look into the cost, maybe they'll give us some savings since we already have 3 with them. But I think that she's absolutely correct. We should just go ahead and at least budget for it. If we can't, for some reason, do the addendum, then at least the money's in the budget. So in August or July, whenever the contract's up, we can go ahead and make that adjustment. Mr. Tonelli, back to you.
Okay, last couple items of the operating budget remain constant, fingerprinting, and that's just cost to fingerprint, which is offset by what we bill, and a portion of the utilities for the public safety building and also for the annex as well. Now down here again under the traffic enforcement column, we had this in ARPA last year, but I think we can pull this out of the traffic enforcement revenues this year. And it's the same budget item. Chief, I had the 9 radios in here as just like a something to hold, but I do have the 4 vehicles outfitted at $52,000 each. Outfitted meaning it costs around $15,000 to $16,000 per vehicle to on top of the cost of the like $37,000, $38,000 to purchase a police interceptor SUV to take the whole body apart and install the emergency equipment and basically put the vehicle back together. And this includes the decals and everything else, all the emergency equipment, lights, sirens, PA, everything. So I have 4 of those in here. And as a placeholder, I have 9 more police radios just because I know they take a beating. And, you know, I'm surprised we get as much life out of these radios as we do, basically. So, but Sean, are the newer ones any smaller, or are they still the same size?
Well, actually, the ones that we purchased last year are starting to become obsolete. So they're actually coming up with a newer radio, and it's going to be a much better radio. It's going to actually give you a wider berth of reception, where almost, like I said, you could take it to deep into Southern Maryland to get reception. And I know some of them are even talking about, like, if you travel to California, you could still go on to the Bladensburg channel and still respond back to Bladensburg for, like, if Chief was traveling or something like that.
And gotta remember, these guys and girls carry probably over 50 pounds on their, you know, on their vest and hip and everything. So with all the equipment, so I think it's like 42 pounds. I forget what it is, but it's a lot. So anything to lessen that, and they can still do their job better.
So Mr. Janelle, if I can just back up right on that line before you pull off there. That number is a little low because the vehicle itself now, especially now that we're getting the hybrid vehicles, you know, they're about 48,000.
Okay.
And then you add another almost 20 for the outfitting of it.
For the hybrid?
For the lights and equipment, all of them, about almost 20 for the outfit. And so I just want the council to not think that we getting a vehicle for 52,000 and outfitting it for that price.
So, Chief, what do you think we should fall into in this line item?
So the council, when they just approved the previous vehicles, they approved it was 70,000, if my memory serves me correctly. And that was for the outfitting, 20 for the outfitting, and then it was like 50 for the vehicle.
Was that for the hybrid?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought we said that that the hybrid vehicle was for the that was for like the supervisors, that wasn't for, maybe, no, am I making that up?
No, we said we were gonna get one hybrid and put in patrol to see how it functions. And then we'll branch out from there. Because it wouldn't be very beneficial for a admin person to have a hybrid and we testing it out.
Oh,
So
okay, I recall.
We want to put it, yeah, we want to put it to the test. And so we were getting it for the patrol and let them, you know, drive it on their daily tours.
Thank you.
Let me get with Chief about this one then, Mayor and Council, and we'll come back. I didn't know if the hybrid is going to be a, you know, a one time or this is where we're going. So we'll get back to you on that.
But we,
Councilmember out.
yeah, we also talked about for his future vehicles, I believe we were saying because we wanted to exhaust the ARPA, it may make more sense to take some of the capital outlay purchases out of ARPA since it's a one-time cost. And we need to spend some of that money down.
Okay.
Instead of having it, I mean, it's just my recommendation.
Yeah, but I thank you for that, Councilmember Rao. I do agree with Mr. Tonelli that we did it last year, but it doesn't mean we need to again this year, seeing the revenue that the PDs are generating. Because again, if they have too much left in that account, it goes to the state. So it's better to leverage some of this traffic enforcement dollars so we don't lose them. And then it gives us more flexibility with those ARPA dollars to, you know, leverage other community programs and projects.
And man, if I could say just one more thing.
Sure. Mhm.
So when we venture out to get these additional 3 more cameras, you know, I mean, it's just going to be, you know, insane for the revenue, because we're at $1 million now for just 3 cameras. And then when we turn around with the red light cameras, that is a very high propensity of violations because people do the California road through the lights all the time. You know, I think I saw a white like Audi with Virginia tags kind of barrel through one of them one day. I'm not sure.
Get those out-of-state people, Chief.
That's what it is. It's those out-of-state folks. Someone on the call said I resemble that comment. I won't say who. All right, we better hustle. It's 6:58, Mr. Tonelli, and we need to get through Public Works.
And ARPA. So
And ARPA.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, excuse me, Mayor, can we,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, but can we circle back to Chief's point, you know, with the cost, kind of circle back and look at it? And so, because we can't purchase, we have to pay for the service, is that the cost is paying for the service?
Correct. Chief, do you want to clarify that for the speed cameras?
Yes, it is $3,400 per camera per month is what we are paying to lease these cameras.
Wow. Okay.
And your question was, can we buy these cameras? We can probably buy them, but remember when you have to upgrade them and things like that, it's just sometimes it's better to just go ahead and lease the cameras, and they take care of all the processing, they take care of all the moving them, they take care, like these people been vandalizing, so they have to come out and repair those cameras.
And what about the pole cameras? I mean, you don't have to answer now, because I want us to move on, but that's something that we could just, can we talk about later, you know, seeing what that cost is for the with the pole ones.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Public Works. I want to move on to Public Works if that's okay. We have in here a foreman. Okay, let's start with compensation first. Compensation, one of the things that major changes that we made that were recommended to the mayor and council was the removal of the Public Works director position and just keep it as we currently have it with a foreman and 5 Public Works employees. This is a cost savings, and I think it works out, but this is, you know, The public works director was in the budget, then it came out of the budget, then it was back in the budget again. But we took it out of the budget for this year. But this is up for discussion, of course, with the mayor and council. Over time, we kept constant, just because we might not hit this figure, but I like to have that in there. We haven't had any real hard snows here in the last 2 years, but you put 1, 2, or 3 of those in there, you'll quickly eat that budget up. And also the overtime is for after hours for the events and everything, cleanup and traffic direction, setting up, disassembly and everything. So there's always some overtime there with public works, just with the nature of the job. Some of the other things decreased based on the removal of the director position with compensation. You can see I put the health insurance enrollment in at the highest point for a public works director position, but removing that has substantial savings, and also for the pension and for I am up here, by the way, I'm sorry. Workers' comp, unfortunately, I kept that where it is. The public works employees are second highest compared to public safety employees, obviously, just because of the nature of the work, doing roadside work, working on equipment, working with equipment, and anything that involves refuse collection. Even though they're not actually doing it, they're still picking up, some of the refuse on the side of the road and everything. So that is classed higher. And unfortunately, with what we saw, like the bad accident that we saw in Baltimore with the road crew, things like that just reminds you of the dangers every day. And I'm sure that's going to be a large loss, which will be spread out to everybody else. Some of the other operating costs here, some of the smaller ones I'll get through really quick. They're small, but they're important. Tuition reimbursement and professional development here. These have not been utilized, but I like to keep these on here, just so employees who want to do this have an opportunity to do it, and there's funding to do it. Just because we didn't do it this year or last year, that doesn't mean that they won't do it next year. So I don't want to take that away from them, even though it's not been utilized yet. Uniforms are for work and safety gear. Professional development, again, is the same thing as tuition reimbursement. Professional development is more of the conferences and classes, like the OSHA 40 or OSHA 80s, which is annual training, confined space training, anything that would go under professional development. That is really for all the employees versus individualized for tuition reimbursement. Like if somebody wants to go out and get their CDL or something, that would come under tuition reimbursement, or take classes, individual classes, versus this being offered as like a training for everybody at once, if that makes sense. Internet access, I bumped this a little bit because we're paying for dedicated internet access down to the Public Works building, which they haven't had before. Won't have anything here for computer expense because this was already covered. Fuel I kept constant. While public safety's fuel has increased, Public Works fuel has stayed within budget because they're really more localized. Even though the costs have increased, it's really all the equipment and vehicles stay here in town versus traveling out of town. That makes sense. So there hasn't been an increase there on the fuel like we had on public safety. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, again, that's self-explanatory. We increased this year just because we're seeing, the equipment is getting older. We're not on the same equipment replacement schedule as we are with public safety, and this equipment does take a lot of abuse, and this is for your ground engaging equipment, your Bobcats, all your tractors and everything else, and also for your big trucks, your smaller trucks. I mean, all the trucks here are the larger class vehicles. So anytime there's a repair on them, it's 2 to 3 times as much as like a normal truck, versus like, my pickup truck out here, just because they are heavier components and unfortunately older components too.
So, Mr. Tonelli, just a quick question for you and Mr. Hall there. Have you guys discussed a vehicle replacement plan for those trucks? I know I've driven the pickup when we've done a couple of cleanups as an example. And like you said, those, when they go down, I know it's expensive because they are older. So is there a plan to start rolling in some replacement of those big trucks?
Well, yeah, Mayor,
Can be.
can you hear me, Mayor?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yes, we have a plan in place, but the way that we do our plan is we go by the repair records. Whichever trucks has the most repairs, that means that those are the trucks that need replaced immediately. So we currently have a 6,500 dump truck that's coming in, and it replaces the 1991 dump truck that needs to go. And the next trucks that we were planning on putting on the next budget capital outlay will be the small dump trucks, because they're costing us around about 3,000 to 4,000 per shop, per shop visit. So it makes sense to go with those. And the pickup truck which is number 7, the one that you drive. We barely have any maintenance costs on there. The body may be a little, around your window. I mean, around your wall fenders and everything, which is common on the Chevy because of the salt. On any Chevy that you see, 3,500, anything, you're gonna see them little rear fender wells that's kind of trying to rust out a little bit. But other than that, she only had about 37,000 to 4,200 miles. 42,000 miles on her. And when we look in the book for truck number 7, we have a repair maintenance of maybe about 7,000, and 7,000 meaning that's with tires, brand new tires and all. So it's not really saying that it's a bad truck, but the way that I try to do it is the ones that's giving us problems first, and them are more high priorities.
That makes a lot of sense. So you said the 6,500 dump truck will replace the old one. So that's
Yes, ma'am.
priority 1. Is that in this cycle, or would that be FY24?
No, it's in this cycle now.
In
We
this
should be
cycle.
having that coming around where they say,
Couple weeks.
yeah, a couple weeks or so. So I give them about two months, and we should be able to see the brand new dump truck that's replacing our 1991.
Perfect. And then you said the small dump truck, that will be in FY24.
I'm wanting to lean towards that more because of just the maintenance issues that we're going to, and also is a diesel.
Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you.
We have some additions down here that I want to talk about for the public works budget along those lines too, Mayor. Again, this budget now is like 45 days old, plus we've had discussions since and everything. So equipment maintenance, those are one of the ones I want to increase to. We had $6,000, but we are on target to exceed that this year. I'd like to bump this to $10,000. It's not a whole lot. It's only going $4,000, but again, it's for all that equipment down there. Building maintenance is something that I've kept the same every year at $50,000. Have we spent this much? No, but the aging buildings that we have, I'd rather have this in here. It's a good placeholder. And now we have a major plumbing issue right now. That's going to be it's coming in at one cost. And then, of course, when you work on an old building, just like an old vehicle, once you start tinkering, you find everything else that's wrong on down the line. So it's the same issue that we had over at the police annex building that we also had at the Mango Cafe. And we know what this is going to involve. And that by itself will take up a third of this budget. Just an instance like that. Now we could have a couple of years where nothing happens. We spend normal $10,000, $15,000 in building maintenance, repair hot water heaters or plumbing issues. But then you have these one-time issues where it involves excavation, demolition, and repouring concrete or asphalt, and it's going to be, it easily eats that up. So again, is my recommendation to keep this at the current level, especially the old buildings, and we'll have any new buildings here. Grounds maintenance, this we're increasing from 20,000 to 30,000. Again, this is something that is necessary. It's the upkeep of everything. Everything you see around here, the roads for minor repairs, the sidewalks for minor repairs, a lot of tree removal has been eating at this. Costs at least $2,000 to $3,000 per large mature tree to take down. This also is for our road signage, just about everything else. But at the end of the year, if anything involves the roads or the sidewalks or the trails, we'll pull that out and get funding through the highway user revenues. But I need an expense item right here to capture everything. Then at the end of the year, we go through and see what qualifies for highway user revenues for reporting purposes only. Street lights this is again something I think we have. How many did I say? No, we have Sean, it's like 434 street lights in town, I think, off the top of my head. He told me that at one point, it just stuck in my head. Okay, so I don't have that in front of me, but it's something like that. Councilmember Rao?
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. So Councilmember Ivy connected me to a few people over at Pepco that really broke down the luminous. I learned a whole new word, a luminous, as it relates to how bright our lights are. And it was explained to me that we are at, our lights in the town is at like the minimum, like luminous that we need to have as it relates to the brightness, and that they can turn our lights up as it relates to our needs. And so then we got into a discussion with the two representatives. I got into a discussion with the representatives over at Pepco with regard to the dark areas and the dark spots where the police department supervisors graciously went out and identified the dim or low lit areas in the town. So there were a couple things. So sometimes there were light bulbs out, but I noticed in my surveilling of the Ward 1, we have lights on like every other pole, and Mr. Hull saw me out when I was, re-looking at some of the lights because the data was not matching or something when I had sent that information over. And so I would like for the town council to consider putting more money in the lighting budget, because as we are being a more walkable community, we have to be safe. And so our residents to walk our community are not safe when it's dark lit areas. Actually, the night that I was out looking, there was a pedestrian that was struck in Ward 1. And really, when I stopped by just to see if the pedestrian was okay, the fire board came out. The driver felt so bad. And she said, Councilmember, I just couldn't see. I really couldn't see the person, and I feel so bad. And when I looked up, this was one of the areas that Chief Collington's officers had identified. It really was low. And so I really think that we should, have a conversation with Pepco to see, one, what is the cost for us to turn up the lights in some areas, or two, how can we add lights? Talking to a couple other municipalities, they were saying to add a light to an existing pole was at or around $1,400 a light. And so I really think that we should consider, especially with our public safety partners, identifying those areas to add some more dollars to the budget for that purpose.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Rout. Councilmember Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. It's 7:15. I'm just doing a time check here.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you. I was hoping we
what
could
we know.
scoot through the rest of this. And to that point, Mr. Tonelli, with,
I can get through the rest in like about 5 to 7 minutes, but I'm not gonna be able to cover ARPA.
yeah, I was gonna say with ARPA, can we push that to the work session
Yeah,
since
so
it's
that's
next
what I was
Monday?
gonna suggest, yeah.
Okay,
But we do have to take a reading on the budget Monday, the first read on the budget Monday, and we also have the, this is all just logistics, and also have the constant yield hearing. So I would have to go ahead and put all these changes in and send you all a narrative of all these changes, and send you a draft of this, so it can be published this week. So just so that you know, I mean, everything that we talked about. And Councilmember Rout, with the street lights, I don't know what the actual cost will be. I can go ahead and bump that a few $1,000s, not knowing what the, just as a placeholder, I guess, because, to increase the wattage
So
or
I
lumens
saw
on there or
Mr.
something.
Hall shaking his head when I said about $1,400. And the police department identified 9 areas that were dark areas. So if we could do the math, I don't, I'm just saying.
Understood.
and Mr. Tonelli, well, to the whole group, Councilmember Rout too, the other option we have is we could get more funding from the state. So similarly to the grant funding, that's gonna help us put lights on 57th Avenue. And knowing we're agreeing to put in money for this grant person, we could also go that, path and get more funding. Because we may be able to do more than just the 9 that you're proposing. If we can get, like, let's say $250,000 to $300,000.
Yeah, I agree, Mayor, that we should work on that as well. I
Or
think
you want to start
both.
small and,
Yeah.
okay,
And see, because we don't, we got to win the grant too.
Yeah.
We get as much as,
we
we
have
need it.
favor. We have favor. We got this.
And I'm sure, and I only surveyed Ward 1. So
Yeah,
I didn't go over to Ward 2, and I could work with our other council members if, if they need my assistance, I can let them know my, my little system working with Chief Collinson. But so we have a whole nother side of our town that is going to need some. So putting something in the budget, I think
Yeah.
would be.
yep, agree. Thank you. Councilmember McBride.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. That was getting ready to be my question. What about Ward 2? Because
I saw your hand go up.
we have some lighting issues, yes. Thank you.
And some of these one-time costs, like to install additional street lights, I think that is a good, I think that would be good to pull from the highway user revenues as well. I don't pull the ongoing, electric bills, but for something like street light installations, that's something that I think that would definitely qualify for that. I probably could get aggressive and ask for like all the lighting costs as well, but I'd rather just, ongoing power bills. No, I don't feel comfortable pulling that from highway user revenues. Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, excuse me, thank you for that. Excuse me, real quick. So installing street lights, isn't that Pepco's job responsibility? Why are we doing it?
So it depends. In the situation like 57th Avenue, we did receive grant funding from the state in order to install additional street lights, because while Pepco has a certain number of lights there for safety reasons and of pedestrians and drivers, it's just too dark. And I remember walking that neighborhood watch route with some of the council members a few years ago, and we all experienced that darkness. And so there's places where we have to go after that funding to get it. We can request it of Pepco, but a lot of people are requesting things of Pepco, so it won't be a quick process. But I think I don't want to speak for Councilmember Rout, but I think what she's proposing is that we be proactive and not wait for them and their process. We go ahead, budget and plan for this, and also look at some grant funding as well. But we can throw Pepco into that conversation too, to go back to
Absolutely.
them for help as well
Yeah.
with our lighting. So at least we show, look, we're asking for your help, but we're
Right.
investing in it, and that might elevate us on their priority list if they
Right.
see we're putting money into this as well. We have skin in the game.
Right, and let me say this as well, because right there at past Quincy at the bottom of 52nd, before you get on turn onto New Street, that path right there, the light is out right now, but Petco put a brighter light there. And so, but the light is out right now, so we need to get that pole light and have Pepco, because it really illuminated that whole area, making it walkable when people were not out in the street. So that may be another option too. It may be lighting poles there, but they need to put brighter lights as.
Now, Councilmember Brown, you said the light at the bridgeway on the bridge area is.
On the bridge
Okay.
side area, yeah, when we did that remediation with the mud and all that, yeah, so it's out now.
They have that number, Mr. Hall. I sent that over.
That thing has been out for 2 years now. I don't know what they're doing, but we need to send
And
it
they
over
keep saying
again.
that it's fixed, and it's
It's
not
not.
fixed. It's
Yeah.
same on my block right across the street. They keep saying that it's fixed, and that thing flickers.
Now,
So
do y'all have the emails that y'all have sent to them?
I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, please. Can both of you send me them information? And we apologize for that. Some of them lights that we don't see because we get out of work at 4 o'clock and we're not there during the daytime.
Right.
So, Chief, in mind, could you, if any of your officers are out at night and just see a light that's out, just give me an address and I can get out the car. I mean, I can do what next needed. That's if they ever see any of them out.
And
That's
Mr. Hall,
right.
sorry, I was gonna say you need the poll number. If they can get out and give that to you, that makes it a little easier too, right? On the plate, on the poll.
Yeah, but if they just, sometimes they may not want to or anything, they just give me the nearest location and I can pull her up. I can pull them up. And that'd be a little bit helpful.
Member.
Okay.
Thank you.
But to your point, Councilmember Brown, I spoke with Molly from the governor's office about the funds, and Pepco will only do or purchase like so much because they have to be able to spread the love. And so there's only a number of lights that they can purchase for municipalities, and then anything extra is going to be on the municipality. I mean, it's a whole thing, because I was saying, like, this is a public safety thing. This is what we pay for. And she agreed. And that's when our Pepco representatives, both of them, I spoke with them, and they shared the same thing.
Okay, and we can talk later, because it's like, who's paying for the power? Who's digging up the ground? Who's doing all of that?
Yeah, see,
that's all of that stuff.
That's what I was going to get into, Mayor and Council. I mean, it sounds good, but when you do a project like this, a lighting project, 20, 50,000 is not going to do you anything. When you're doing something like this, you kind of need to do a whole street the way you can see what you need and what you don't need or what you do like. So putting in a budget for 50,000 or something, you'll run through that in 2 poles, 3 poles, for the construction wise, permitting wise, planning wise, go through the county, go through Pepco, all this stuff that I just done through the light situation that we get ready to go through on 57th Avenue. So it may sound light, but the funding is very heavy when you pulling off of Pepco electricity.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hall. Good advice. Mr. Tonelli? You're muted.
I'm gonna keep going on this and trying to let's get through grounds maintenance. Okay, that's what we're just talking about. Street lights. Now, street lights again are just for the power, and the power runs about between like 5,000 and so in the winter time when the days are short and the nights are long, to around $3,000 to $4,000 in the summertime when you get the shorter nights. But this is just the power feeding all the lamp posts and poles in town. Sanitation contract. We fell off our contract and we're looking at bidding this out. And this is running around. You can see what is running right now because of the fuel surcharges, all this, like anytime you get a load of anything, concrete, stone, you haul refuse, everybody's getting hit with these fuel surcharges. And when we bid this out and fuel prices remain high, we're going to be locked into a contract with high fuel prices. So, as I said, we haven't seen fuel prices really go down yet at all. Landfill fees, even though the county has increased these, we are still staying within budget. I think right now, even when they increased the landfill fees, we are at almost $9,000. So I'd rather just keep this in here because they just increased the fees recently. So we don't have a full year of the, the increased fees yet. Building supplies, this is a smaller account. We increased as 25%. It's really only $2,000. This is for our building consumables, paper towels, toilet paper, toiletries, cleaning supplies, waters, everything else. Janitorial service, I kept this the same. I haven't heard anything from them yet, but we have a contractual service where the buildings are cleaned every day. They have to be because of the amount of traffic. I can imagine if they were not cleaned every day. We have a lot of people in and out of here. Smaller items like travel, shop supplies, or shop consumables. Utilities, I did bump the utilities because Public Works Department see increased utility costs. They cover the cost of like Boswick House, the shop building, I'm trying to think of the other buildings. But we're seeing the increased cost there, and Boswick is a big house, and it's we're just seeing the large increases just from there. And this includes electric, water, sewer, and gas. So this is everything. Not saying all this goes to Boswick or anything, but the shop down there is a pretty big shop as well. It's cavernous, so it takes a lot to heat that and to supply that. This might be a little bit high, but the way utility prices are going right now, commodity prices, I'd rather keep this up right now. Now, I have street repairs here. This is on a budget I gave you, $150,000. This is for major road projects. This is for targeted road projects, not your like little, I call them little, but like for pothole repairs or anything. This is for major, like 57th Avenue, 58th Avenue, Decatur, or something like that, for a street project. Now, something that's not on here that we discussed since then, we talked about the public works equipment and vehicles and everything. We talked with Purnell, and what didn't make it on here, but what is needed is some public works equipment, which is, I'm going to share this screen right here, which is going to increase the budget, but all this will come out of highway user revenues. And I'm going to share the screen really quick, so I make it by 7:30. Everybody see this? Probably got to blow it up a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. Few pieces of equipment. I mean, Public Works never really gets, the new equipment every year as we should be doing it, except for the new dump truck this year, which is coming in to replace. What did you say for now? The 1994 vehicle? Is that what I heard or something, or something very old? So it's one of the
91, Vito.
91. Some things we have on here is an asphalt planer, a box sweeper, new Kubota tractor, which is, that does the grounds maintenance, crosswalk painter, and a line sprayer. And I got pictures of these, but Purnell, if you want to talk through some of these, what they are, and I could pull a picture up at the same time. Here we go. Asphalt planer. Can everybody see this okay?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Purnell, you want to talk about that? And as you can see I think Purnell, you're muted. The line sprayer is, and also the walk behind machine. I think that's for the thermoplastic application, Purnell, is that right?
Yes, that's that machine right there will use thermoplastic, and which is thermoplastic. Thermoplastic is a type of paint, but it's a durable and harder paint for roadways, asphalts, concretes. And since we have 14 crosswalks in town, we try to do them annually. But now, if we get this machine right here, you have to do them maybe every 2 years or something like that. So that takes down the job task for the guys. And as y'all know, when we're doing crosswalks with paint, which is the machine that's below it, the line spray machine that we have right now, we have to, it's full staff. And sometimes we pull 2 people from the code because of the time of the drying pattern between this. So the machine up top, which is Vito showed you, is a gray coat product, which is sold by Sherwin-Williams, and everybody is using that product. You go to McCormick Paint, Spurs Paint, everybody is getting the machine from Sherwin-Williams, which is a gray coat product that they make themselves. And I've went out to 3 different companies, and both of them is giving me 2 gray coat products. Sherwin-Williams and McCormick Paint gave me gray coat products, and I reached out to a vendor, a distributor in Kansas City, which they give me a product is not a gray coat, is a Pittsburgh or something like that, which is like $12,000. So you can do the math on that. When you get a cheaper product, then that's what your outcome is cheaper. Wear and tear, the maintenance, shop maintenance, who fixes it. So when I'm purchasing certain things like this, some of these things have to be local because we have to be able to maintain it. We have to, the turnaround in the shop has to be very fast. We can't send it out of town. We can't do this. We can't do that. So a lot of this equipment that we get, I do the researches to see who maintains them, who fix them, where they at, where they located. What about this machine before I put any type of piece of product that we, Town of Bladensburg or Public Works, have to work.
You're muted, Vito.
Sorry, a couple of the other items up here, the asphalt planer, that is I believe that's a Bobcat attachment, so you can do your own asphalt. So we can do some larger asphalt repairs and work in town, in-house versus contracting this out.
Yes, basically what that is like we have little small sections in town that we just, sometimes when you're filling potholes, all you do is put hot patch over or you put cold patch over. So what this cold planer does right there, it can plane down to 6 inches of asphalt. 6 inches means you can dig down with 6 inches. So some of these little 4x6s or 4x7s that you got to have a company to call. I mean, you have to call a company to come in here to charge you mobilization, $2,000, $2,700, when we can buy a machine for $2,500 and kill most of that ourselves. We can purchase the asphalt from right down the street at aggregate. We can purchase the patch. I mean the CR6, which is the gravel that compacted. Then you put the hot mix on top of it. So some of these things that we can do in-house, but only we just don't have the equipment. So that's what we're trying to gear our staff towards and gear our department toward, is some of this little minor stuff that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, we can do it in-house. And that's what that piece of equipment right there would do.
And going along with that is the box sweeper. This is for road cleanup that picks up everything before and after a job. We can also just do our, it's really for, it's not a street sweeper. It's really for like really intense asphalt work. Really intense. Help me out, Pernell. Like when we had the flooding down here, I mean, it could clear the street quickly instead of having it being excavated. I mean, you had to go through with a bucket and scrape it and everything. This really does a good job of cleaning, identifying area and really cleaning the streets, especially in industrial areas. Is that right, Pernell?
Yes, it does. It picks up heavy debris on the side of heavy.
Yeah, where a street sweeper's not gonna pick up your rocks and like branches
Thing
and
like
stuff.
that.
This
You
thing
have
will-
to,
yeah.
whatever you tear up, you have to sweep up. And this is that piece of material right there.
Yeah, the
I'm
last.
sorry.
You're
That piece
back.
of
Your
mat-
audio was going out, Mr. Hall, but
Yeah.
you're back.
Oh, I'm sorry. That piece of material does very well. Like in our industrial area, we have a lot of buildup on a curb line on Upster Street, and plus when you have as you know, in industrial area, we always have a lot of flooding. And after flooding, there's a lot of debris that's left alone. So that machine right there would do it better than our leaf machine, because our leaf machine is directed to pick up like light
Small,
leaves and
yeah.
stuff. When you pick up heavy debris, sand, rocks, and dirt, it wants to clog up the chute. And then when you clog it up, you have to take it down to the shop. You have to take it apart. You have to, unclog it. So this machine is for that type of material. And all we do is we use the machine, and the top of it will open up, and you dump it right in the back of our little small dump truck, and we just keep on going. So we trying to get equipment that's feasible and easier for us to do our job task in the Public Works Department.
And if there's money in the budget this year that's unspent, we might pull this out of this year as well. And the last one is a Kubota 60 tractor. You see guys on tractors all the time, every day. This is to replace the older X-Mark tractor. It's probably, geez, I think probably has about 3,000 hours on it, I bet. So.
Yeah, she's probably the 66. Matter of fact, they don't even make them no more. They discontinued, but that machine has done us a really good job, and she's just on her last leg, and we have to have something to replace it. As y'all know, we cut about 11 acres, in a season in the town of Bladensburg.
And that's every week. So, so I mean, they get a lot of hours on them. So that is my budget presentation. I'm going to stop the share. Okay, so next step is I want to put a draft together and a narrative of the changes that we've done, and we'll talk about, and I want to get something in print, another draft budget prior to the mayor and council meeting on Monday, and we'll also discuss ARPA as well during the work session.
Mr. Tonelli, real quick,
Uh-huh.
are any of those capital purchases for like cleaning and upkeep? Can we pull any of that out of ARPA?
Of course. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, ARPA is really what ARPA is for us is revenue replacement, meaning that we really have we can use it as we wish, but the way I report it based on projects. So that would just be a new project. And speaking of that, I just did the annual reporting on Thursday for our ARPA funds. And they said I don't have to put as much detail as I do in the ARPA report, but that's just me. I'd rather have more detail than anything. So, but yeah, I mean, of course, Councilmember Rao, I mean, that's up for discussion. So I'm looking at the time.
So,
Mayor,
Mr.
I'm gonna turn
Tonelli,
this
just
back over to you.
yeah, so thank you very much for walking us through this. Thank you to all of our directors for answering our questions in the dynamic dialogue. So just to clarify, in the Monday, May 8th work session, we'll review the ARPA draft budget. We've gone through all of the other revenues and expenses for the other departments so far, with the exception of the ARPA budget. So we'll be prepared to walk through that. I really appreciate everyone taking the time, and apologies for going over, but I think it was really helpful because everyone offered really good input, great questions, and I think it'll help us get to a better budget. So with that, I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting, and we'll call for a motion at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much and have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.